Hey guys, welcome to day 76. Today we're going to solve literal equations. A literal equation is an equation where variables represent known values. Literal equations can use letters for both constants and variables. To solve for a particular variable in a literal equation, you simply rewrite the equation isolating the variable. So let's think about it. If we had a triangle plus a circle minus a star and that equals a pentagon, and we want to solve for the triangle, our whole goal is to get the triangle by itself. So we want to start out, if we have a negative star, we can think of the inverse operation, which would be to add a star. Okay, and if we add a star to one side, we have to do it to the other. So when we do that, additive inverse says they cancel out, and we're left with triangle plus circle is equal to the pentagon plus the star. All right, now if we want to get the triangle by itself, we want to get rid of the circle, so we have a positive circle, we're going to undo it by subtracting a circle. We do that to both sides, and our triangle is actually equal to the pentagon plus the triangle minus the circle. Okay, it's going to work the same way with variables. Okay, if we solve for the circle in our second example, the first thing that we want to do is we're going to get the circle by itself. We're going to multiply both sides by the triangle. Okay, because a triangle times divided by a triangle is 1, so we're left with triangle plus circle, star plus circle is equal to the pentagon times the triangle. All right, now to get the circle by itself, we just need to subtract the star. Okay, so the circle ends up being equal to the pentagon times the triangle minus the star. All right, so all we're doing is isolating that variable. All right, so if we looked at our first example, and a lot of time literal equations are formulas. Think of formulas from your formula sheet or maybe formulas from science class. And in the case of number 1, it says to solve for L. Okay, so area equals length times width. If we wanted to solve for L, we want to isolate L. All right, that means we're going to, since we're multiplying by W, we're going to do the inverse operation, which means we're going to divide by W. Okay, so our L ends up being equal to A divided by W, and we're done. All right, number 2, if we solve for T, we're going to divide both sides by R. So we end up with T is equal to D divided by R. Okay, we can write it as first D divided by R equals T, but then I just switched the order. Okay, so our T is equal to, looks like kind of an F. Let's make it a T. Okay, so T is equal to D divided by R. All right, if we solve for R here, C equals circumference equals 2 pi R. We want R by itself. Okay, since we're multiplying the R by 2 pi, to undo it, we just divide both sides by 2 pi. And that 2 pi would cancel out, so C would be equal to would be equal to R. All right, C divided by pi would be equal to R, or we can switch the order around, so our R is equal to C divided by pi. So you always want your variable that you're solving for on the left. Okay, if we solve for P here, interest equals principal times rate times time. That's a formula in economics class or banking. All right, so we're going to solve for P, so we're just going to look at the variables we're multiplying by, the RT, and divide by RT. So I divided by RT is equal to P, because they would cancel out, or P is equal to I divided by RT. There's our answer. All right, now if we're solving for H here, okay, what we're going to do, a lot of times if you have a fraction, it might be easier just to multiply both sides by the denominator 2. So I'm going to take both sides and multiply it by 2. I'll demonstrate that by doing that. So I end up with 2A is equal to BH. So I'm going to do it in multiple steps. And now I'm solving for H, so I want to divide by B. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I end up with 2A divided by B is equal to H, or I can write that as H is equal to 2A divided by B. All right. If number 6, I solve for M, all right, I'm multiplying by C squared, so I'm going to divide by C squared. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So E divided by C squared is equal to M. or we write it as m is equal to e divided by c squared. Okay, let's look at number 7. Now we're solving for L. This is an L, looks like a 1, but it's really an L. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to, because when you have multiple terms, you first want to bring the other terms over. So I've got 2L plus 2W. So I'm going to start by bringing that other term over. I'm going to subtract 2W. I do that to both sides. Okay, so I end up with P minus 2W is equal to 2L. Okay, because that would cancel out. All right, I'm solving for L. So I want L by itself, so I'm just going to divide both sides by 2. All right, so when I do that, my L, I'm going to switch sides, it's equal to P minus 2W divided by 2. Or I can actually split it apart and say L is equal to P divided by 2 minus 2W divided by 2, which simplifies, so there's one answer, to L equals P divided by 2 minus W. There's your second possibility. All right, number 8. By now you should be used to the equation of a line. If we want to solve for the slope, which is m, we're going to start by subtracting b. Y minus b is equal to mx. And since we're solving for m, we want to divide by x. So m is going to be equal to y minus b divided by x. All right, we want to solve for x here. Anytime you're dividing, you want dividing by p, so let's multiply both sides by p. So we get pm is equal to, and divide that side, multiply that side by p, so those would cancel out, x plus n. And we're solving for x, so we want to subtract n. So pm minus n equals x, or we can rewrite this as x is equal to pm minus, pm minus n, sorry. Okay, it's okay if you actually had mp minus n because it is commutative, so either answer is fine. All right, so then looking at number 10, all right, we're solving for x. All right, since we're solving for x, but x is in the denominator, we're going to start by multiplying both sides by x. Okay, when we do that, we end up with xy is equal to k, because those x's will cancel out. Now I'm solving for x, so I simply divide by y. X is equal to k divided by y. All right, number 11, we're going to solve for a. Now, since the x is being distributed to the a plus b, you don't want to distribute it. You actually want to start out by dividing by x. Okay, so you end up with a plus b is equal to 10 divided by x. Now it gets pretty easy because we're solving for a. All we have to do is subtract our b. So a would be equal to 10 divided by x minus b. And be careful that b is not divided by x. It's 10 divided by x minus b. Number 12, we're solving for a. So we have a fraction here, so let's get rid of the 2 first. Makes it a little bit easier. All right, so we end up with 2a is equal to, remember these 2's will cancel out, h times a plus b. All right, then we want, since we're solving for a, and we're multiplying by an h, let's divide by an h to undo that. H divided by h is 1. So we've got 2a divided by h is equal to a plus b. Now to get a by itself, all we have to do is subtract our b. Okay, so I'm going to flip the sides around. A is equal to 2a divided by h minus b. And there's your answer. Okay, 13. All we have to do to get b by itself is maybe first subtract a. All right, so we end up with b plus c is equal to 180 minus a. And then to get b by itself, we're just going to subtract c. So our final answer would be b is equal to 180 minus a minus c. All right, and now to solve for c. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is get rid of that other term, which is the 32. So we're going to subtract it from both sides. So f minus 32 is equal to 9/5 c. Okay, so 9/5 divided by 9, we want to take 9/5 and divide both sides by 9/5. So what we're going to do is actually multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5/9. Okay, because 5/9 times 9/5 is 1. So we're left with 5/9 times f minus 32 is equal to c. Okay, or we can rewrite this as c is equal to 5/9 times f minus 32. All right, or if we wrote it across, we are distributed the 5/9, we can write it as c is equal to 5/9 f minus 169. Okay, so either answer is fine. All right, highly recommend, okay, going through the homework and making sure you understand it. So 76B. Bye.